Far Cry 2 is not for the faint of heart. I've been playing this game now on and off for the last kind of 2 weeks. Obviously, you guys have seen me stream it at least twice. And as of recording this video, I believe I may have streamed it maybe once more since then. Far Cry 2 is, compared to its successors, so things like Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4, 5, 6, New Dawn, etc., Far Cry 2 is comparatively very, very, very different in so many ways. When you think of Far Cry 3, you think of, sandbox, open world, do what you want, explosions, etc., etc. You think of a good time. Far Cry 2 still has the explosions and the open world and the kind of sandbox element as well, but this game turns the seriousness up to like 11. Far Cry 2 is definitely not for the faint-hearted. This game is hard. This game is very hard. I'm playing on the easiest difficulty, just because I want to actually not have to be tearing my hair out and actually like getting annoyed at the game. But the game is definitely not easy. And there are a multitude of reasons why, which I'm going to obviously go over in today's video. Now, if you've watched me streaming this game, you'll know that originally I wasn't that keen. I think I actually said something along the lines of I was surprised that we even got a Far Cry 3 after this, especially because they're two very different games in so many ways as well. But the more I play Far Cry 2, the more I kind of appreciate it a little bit more. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still definitely not up there with my favourite Far Cry games. Far Cry 3 will always hold a special place in my heart. I really enjoyed Far Cry 4. Far Cry 5 was a little bit weak, in my opinion. But Far Cry 2, I've come to appreciate it more as I've played it on. I'm currently, at the moment, in my playthrough of this game, I'm currently in the second half of the map. So I've progressed the story enough now to get to the south. So I'm about halfway through the game now. I'm about 20 hours in. And a usual 100% completion of the main game is about 40 hours, so I'm literally at the halfway mark at the moment. Now, ignoring graphics and things of that nature, because I feel like it's unfair to compare those things to games of today's standards, simply because this game was released in 2008. That is something we have to remember. You can't expect the graphics of this game to hold up with things today. That's just not a fair comparison. And the game doesn't look terrible. You know, for the era that it was in, 2008, technology's not kind of all there with gaming, obviously not like we have it today. And the game still looks quite pretty in some cases. Obviously, there's a lot of greenery, a lot of shrubbery. We are in Africa after all. And there's also a lot of sand, a lot of deserts and things like that as well. So it is kind of a pretty game in its own right. Obviously, the graphics don't look as good as games do today, but you can't expect that from a game released in 2008. It's just not feasible. So for the time it was made in, the game does look surprisingly good. It doesn't hold up all that well with today's games, but for its period of time, it does look good. Atmosphere-wise, and things like that, kind of mixing in with the gameplay stuff, the game does well. When you're out and about, it's kind of just like a vibe. You are just kind of trekking through Africa. You've got your car, a buggy. You're walking, you're running, whatever. It's quite cool. It's quite nice. You've got like the animals in the background. You've got birds chirping away. You've got monkeys, etc. You've got you've got ambient noise going on to kind of obviously emphasize the fact that you are in Africa. And then when you get near things like enemy encampments and things like that, the music all of a sudden will turn very, very kind of sinister. Almost, as a way to kind of indicate to you, the player, that you are no longer safe. You are in an area where if you are seen or heard, they will just openly attack you. And obviously then you've got the combat music, which is very upbeat, very kind of like a lot of like drums going on and things like that. Very kind of almost like Congo-y. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but very much like kind of drums, very like kind of like upbeat, fast rhythm to get your heart going. And obviously you've got enemies then moving in on you. You can hear them communicating. Obviously they're openly shooting at you. And the game does really well in that terms of atmosphere as well. Gameplay wise, it's not the best Far Cry in terms of gameplay. So at the moment you can see I'm using kind of the binoculars. Obviously in later games we just got a camera to mark enemies with. You can't mark enemies in this game. You can only mark things of interest, such as like ammo piles, vehicles, etc. It's kind of a little lackluster on that side of things, because I have a habit of liking to mark enemies before I push an outpost. So that does kind of let it down a little bit. The map system as well is not my favourite. I prefer just having a map where I press a button and it opens a menu and I can put waypoints down and stuff. Far Cry 2 does not operate in this way at all at any point. You have a little GPS tracker which shows your immediate surroundings, and then you have a map then where you can flick between the different levels to zoomed in, medium, and the whole region, and that is your way of knowing where you are. So you actively have to pull it out of your inventory and look at it, which means you cannot defend yourself while you're looking at your map. Again, an interesting choice in terms of gameplay. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it does make the game feel a little bit more kind of realistic in the fact you can't just bring up a menu and place a waypoint. Granted, with the GPS thing that your character does have, it is a little bit weird that you can't at least put a waypoint down for things. But having the map system, it does make it a bit more realistic rather than just press button and there's a menu with a map in it. But then again, you can see where you are on the map and you can see yourself moving, so I guess at the same time it's kind of silly because that's not how maps work in real life. Stealth-wise, it's not really a thing. Like, you can buy camouflage, but like taking on an encampment in full stealth is just a no-go. Even using a silenced MP5, it doesn't matter. The minute you open fire or attack an enemy with a machete and kill them even before they shoot or say anything, every other enemy in the encampment knows then that something's going on and the combat music will immediately start playing. So there's no real stealth in the game, which is a sore disappointment for me, because I do like playing Far Cry games for their stealth. I do enjoy doing things in a stealthy manner. So for that to be not there is kind of a letdown for me personally. Not for everyone. Some people would rather just running guns blazing every time, and that's absolutely fine. You do you. But for myself personally, I'm just not that keen on it personally. I wish there was an element of stealth there as well, but there's just not really. It's not really there. Actual gunplay is okay. Enemies can hit you from what feels like ridiculously far away, even with shotguns. Like, they can hit you from like really stupid ranges, and kind of recoil in this game is insane. Like, any gun you use just goes straight up in a straight line, so firing for like a full magazine is just almost like, it's not an option. You have to like burst fire. I've used an AK in this game and I've had to burst fire it. I've used the MP5, which I kind of burst fire it. Like, trying to like actually dump a magazine into someone just isn't feasible because half of the bullets will just go above them because the game just immediately flicks the gun upwards, and trying to pull it back down almost doesn't work. It's kind of insane. So that does kind of like kill the gunplay a little bit because you can't really just fully open up on people. You have to kind of strategically do things. It's still not, it's not terrible. Again, it's not as good as future Far Cry games, but again, it's Far Cry 2. Like, you can't really be mad at this game for not having things that its sequels did, because obviously this came first, so it's not really fair to get annoyed with it. Actual map-wise, the map feels quite big, actually. It doesn't feel like there's a lot in it. Like, there's no really, like, points of interest or anything. Like, there are things to do. Like, there's antennas to get contracts. Obviously, there are enemy encampments littered everywhere. There are safe houses to unlock. But actual, like, points of interest and kind of, like, NPCs, it's you and the enemies. That's about it. There's no kind of like villages or anything where there are like just neutral NPCs. It is literally you against all of Africa, basically. I kind of get it because, again, the game was released in 2008 and kind of specs and things like that at that point for gaming, maybe at the time the technology just wasn't there to have that many things going on at once in a game, which, if that is the case, then fair enough. And obviously in future Far Cry games we did get, more NPCs, and the place, the world feels more kind of alive. With this one, it is literally you, the enemies. There are a few animals here and there as well, zebras, gazelles, bison, I think they are as well, things like that, or buffalo. So we've got a couple of animals roaming around, which does lead me into the fact that there's no hunting in this game, which again is a sore spot for me. I really enjoy hunting in Far Cry games, Far Cry 3 and 4 especially, because obviously that's how you get your upgrades. In this game there is no hunting at all. Animals are there, they can be killed, they can be run over, they can be shot. There is no reason to do this because you don't get anything out of it, they just die. They're just there for kind of atmosphere and the environment. They're not really there as a gameplay mechanic. So while the thought is nice, and it does kind of add to the fact that, again, you're in Africa, not actually having a hunting system in the game does kind of suck. But again, that was immediately implemented in Far Cry 3, the sequel. So again, you can't really be mad at the predecessor for not having something that its successor now has. That's, again, not how time works. Now, the save system in this game sucks. I hate the save system in this game, and I think anybody else probably will as well. One of the many reasons why this game is so hard is because you can only save at save points, or when you've done like mission objectives. Other than that, you cannot save. You cannot just bring up your pause menu, save the game and leave. You need to get to a save point first. And if you die between, like, say you save, you play for an hour, you don't save at all, and you die, that hour worth of progress is gone completely. This game is ruthless. This is what I mean when I say Far Cry 2 is not for the faint of heart. If you play and you do not save, and then you die like an hour or 2 hours after saving, everything you've just done is gone forever, and you'll have to redo everything. I learned this the hard way. I was doing something and I died, and then I got run over, and I lost like an hour and a half of progress, and I was really annoyed. Because I then had to redo the entire thing again. And if there's one thing I hate with games, it's when I have to redo the same things repeatedly, because it really just spoils it for me. So the save system in this game absolutely blows. It's by far my least favourite aspect of the whole game. Thankfully, in later Far Cry games, this was changed, because this save system is awful. I absolutely despise it. Even with the rest of the kind of realism that's going on, what with the map and the gunplay and the how difficult the game can be. Like, I would have been happy if they just didn't have this save system, and immediately this game would be way better than it is. The save system blows. I cannot stand it. If you like a challenge and you like the risk, then maybe this game will be for you. But for me personally, the save system, I cannot stand it. There's nothing more annoying than, like, I need to go somewhere, like in real life, but I need to get to a save point first on my game. Like, that shit's annoying. And yes, that is the type of stuff I used to have to do in my childhood with things like my Game Boy and things like that. But, it's just frustrating, especially in 2025. But again, it's a game that came out in 2008, so what did I expect? Story-wise, I don't really care. You're in Africa to kill a guy called the Jackal that's basically arming two sides of the same civil war. And so far in my game, he's shown up twice, and on both occasions he has not killed me, because I've been in a state, and then he just leaves. If anything, he's helping me. I don't really understand what the whole end plot is. I'm not really that invested at the moment. I don't really care. But maybe it'll pick up now that I'm in the south of the map, because things have kind of amped up to 11 now that I've escaped the north. So maybe things are about to get way more serious. I don't really know. It's okay. Like, I don't really care. Like, the characters are very forgetful. The actual plot is kind of eh. I'm kind of just there for a good time. I'm just there to play Far Cry. I'm not really there because, like, the story is, like, pulling me in. And again, later Far Cry's had stronger stories, so I really enjoyed 3s personally. I liked 4s as well. 5s was okay. But this game doesn't, like, it's there because it needs to be there, but it doesn't really feel like that's the selling point of the game, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't really pick it up for its story, because it's just kind of forgetful almost. Now, believe it or not, even in 2008, this game did come with a map editor as well, so people could make their maps. You could download them, you could rate them out of 1 to 5 stars. You could obviously host them and things like that. I've played a couple of them. There are actually some quite good ones back from 2008. It's quite fun, and I've made my own as well, just for an achievement as well. And this game then comes with multiplayer as well. Now, the multiplayer I can't really comment on. I haven't been able to play it because obviously this game came out in 2008. The chances of me finding a game are like 0, which is really frustrating for me, because there are multiplayer achievements and a lot of them have to be done in ranked matches as well. So Far Cry 2 may very well be a game that I will never be able to truly 100%, and that does hurt a little bit, because I hate games like this. I hate multiplayer achievements for games that have been taken offline. It really annoys me, which is why I can't stand multiplayer achievements in general. But I will never understand why Ubisoft are always so adamant, and they've done it to this day, where they have to have multiplayer PvP in Far Cry games. I don't know why they put it in there. They just, it's such a minor aspect, they might as well just scrap it, because I don't know if anyone actually cares about it. Like, Far Cry 3 had it, Far Cry 4 had it, Far Cry 5 has it. It just feels pointless. Like, just give me the base game. I don't want the shitty multiplayer add-on. Leave that shit out. Other than that, I think that is it. Like I said at the beginning of the video, Far Cry 2 is a hard game. This game is ruthless. This game will eat you alive. If you like that sort of thing, you like a challenge, you like difficult games, this is definitely up there with one of the hardest ones I've ever played. Not because it's like I'm constantly dying or anything, but just simply because there's a lot to do. I have to actually keep my head screwed on properly at all times and be paying attention. I can't just take the mick and then die and then lose my progress. The saving makes it hard. The fact that guns can rust and jam and break makes it hard as well. There's an aspect of realism here that I did not anticipate would be in a Far Cry game, and yet it is. And it is a nice change of pace, don't get me wrong, but I am very grateful that the sequels in this this franchise changed tone and changed pace. Far Cry 2 is an outlier compared to its successors, and while I do appreciate the change and how different this game is to its successors, I'm glad that we left things the way they were in 2 and then moved on to how things were in 3, 4, 5 and onwards. I do not think Far Cry would have been as successful as it is today if we had stuck with this formula. I think people would have got fed up, and they would have wanted something a bit more laid back. And with Far Cry 3, obviously the sequel to this game, we got that. We got something more laid back, more polished, more up to date. And that game obviously has a map editor and things as well. But overall, Far Cry 2 is an okay game. Again, it's not for the faint of heart. It's not something I can see myself doing a second playthrough of. I think I'll do as many of the achievements as I can, and then I will just never touch it again, because this game has taken me quite a while to get through. And while on stream I have complained about it here and there because I've been getting used to it, now that I've played it for a little bit more, I do appreciate it more than I did, when I first started playing it. But with that, that's me done. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. If you're new around here, then obviously drop me a sub, drop me a follow, whatever. Share the video and drop a comment as well if you've played Far Cry 2. Maybe you played this game when it came out. I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are on this game as well, and how you kind of stack this up compared to the sequels. Other than that, guys, take care as always. Enjoy your morning, your afternoon, evening, or night. Take care, much love, and I will see you all either in the next stream or the next video then, okay? Take care in the meantime, guys. All the best.